1.2 billion Catholics rejoice as the 266th Pope is chosen. Jorge Mario Bergoglio is his name.
An important figure who may change the course of Catholic history has apparently found an ally in Pope Francis. His relationship with Cardinal Luis Tagle has been the subject of much speculation and even controversy. Cardinal Luis Tagle is now the center of attention thanks to the Pope's decision. For what reason is Pope Francis deciding to do this now? In what ways will this impact the global influence of the Church? Come explore with us the truth about Cardinal Luis Tagle that Pope Francis disclosed. Cardinal Luis Tagle and Pope Francis have a complicated bond of devotion based on mutual respect, appreciation, and the quest of a new path for the Catholic Church. Just like the Pope, Cardinal Tagle is humble, welcoming, and very attuned to the needs of the people. Cardinal Tagle's work in Manila before becoming a cardinal epitomizes the message Francis intended to send to the lowly, which he has envisioned since the beginning of his papacy, a church for the poor. Common folks were able to relate to him. Following in Tagle's footsteps, the Pope is resolute in his belief that clergymen may inspire not just their congregations but also the world at large to work together in building a church that can weather any storm. Along with Tagle's 2019 appointment as prefect of the Congregation for the Evangelization of Peoples, their collaboration achieved unprecedented levels of operational excellence. The Red Pope, as this office is commonly known, has considerable control over missionary work on all continents. Pope Francis may have signaled his intention to entrust Tagle with the future of Catholic evangelism in Asia, Africa, and Latin America by assigning him to this prominent role. These regions will have a significant impact on the growth of the Catholic Church. Furthermore, their bond goes beyond just working together on projects. Compassion, not ideology, polarization, and action, not rhetoric, are the tenets that both leaders stress. Their vision of a loving church has been strengthened by their common experiences of enduring negative reactions from traditionalist elements. Pope Francis's beliefs and Tagle's leadership style, which is characterized by humility and kindness, are a perfect fit. For instance, Francis suggested Tagle as a leader for the Church of Mercy after he responded quickly and compassionately after 2013's Typhoon Haiyan. Tagle is an inspiration to liberal Catholics all over the globe, not just for his charitable work, but also for his sound theology and, in particular, his inclusive evangelism. Leadership in the Church, according to Pope Francis, must break free of clerical constraints and shine a light on the world's abandoned and forgotten people. The role of Tagle inside the Vatican has been called into doubt by recent remarks made by Pope Francis. It indicates that the Pope and the Cardinal have already arranged to work together in the future, even if he has not said so explicitly. Is Tagle's journey within the Church a sign of a possible transformation happening on a worldwide scale, starting from Manila? An inspirational man dedicated to life with purpose, Cardinal Luis Tagle ascended from the slums of Manila to the hallways of the Vatican. The life of Tagle, who was born in the Philippines in 1957, exemplifies his commitment to helping the less fortunate and his strong roots in his community. His great intelligence and humanitarian nature led him to pursue a career in theology at an early age, with the goal of rising to a position of prominence within the Catholic Church. Being named Archbishop of Manila in 2011 marked the beginning of Tagle's leadership path. In light of the difficulties inherent in presiding over the world's biggest Catholic diocese, Filipinos working abroad were pleased with his selection as cardinal. It didn't take long for Tagle to transform into a reformer. Instead of succumbing to the avarice and materialism that characterized previous church leaders, he devoted himself to serving the church and its members, going on missions, and fighting for social justice. His sermons are powerful and inspiring, speaking to the experiences of millions and earning him the moniker Asia's Francis. His ascent to global recognition was accompanied by many promotions that showcased his increasing influence inside the Vatican. Campaigns against poverty, hunger, and climate change were promoted by Tagle while he was president of Caritas Internationalis, a Catholic charitable organization active in 165 countries. He was chosen as prefect of the Congregation for the Evangelization of Peoples in 2019 for his capacity to promote dialogue between churchgoers of all cultural backgrounds and ideological persuasions. Because of his position, he was pivotal to the church's effort to share the gospel over the world. Tagle was instrumental in reforming the church's evangelizing strategies in non-Western nations, particularly in Africa and Asia, since he valued cultural diversity. Pope Francis has led the Catholic Church in a new direction, one that prioritizes the marginalized, a church for the poor. Cardinal Luis Tagle's support has only served to solidify this vision. They stand united in their call for social justice, kindness, and compassion. For Pope Francis, the Church is first and foremost a place of refuge for the marginalized. Among Tagle's responsibilities as president of Caritas Internationalis are initiatives to combat hunger, house refugees, and combat the effects of climate change. A pivotal figure in the Church's humanitarian activities, he is skilled at securing funds and mobilizing others to make a difference. Among Tagle's most essential activities is listening. He frequently stresses, "If you listen, you open yourself to love, and those who love will not tire of listening." Tagle, in contrast to traditional hierarchical power structures, places a premium on discourse and makes an effort to hear marginalized perspectives. Nevertheless, there are difficulties associated with this marginalization approach. A number of people who are critical of the Church feel that its teachings are being overshadowed by its emphasis on social concerns. Those who disagree with Pope Francis and his policies say he is putting political correctness ahead of fundamental Catholic principles. In spite of all these complaints, Pope Francis and Cardinal Tagle are unwavering in their belief that the Church must address modern concerns or risk becoming irrelevant. Tagle assists in furthering the Pope's vision, in addition to his humanitarian work. In an increasingly divisive society, his work to promote interfaith cooperation shows that the Church is serious about building bridges. As Pope Francis has emphasized, talking religion with individuals of other faiths brings people together and encourages tolerance. They are working together to construct modern Catholicism right before our eyes by bringing the Church into closer contact with people. Within the context of fast change, this emphasis on the margins has the potential to reimagine the Church's purpose. Underneath the unity and piety, there has always been a power struggle among the Roman Catholic Church's hierarchy, particularly at the Vatican. Disagreements arise as a result of competing ideologies at the intersection of traditional and postmodern cultural practices. There is an intriguing story unfolding behind the scenes of the everyday struggles between conservative elements and reformists like Cardinal Tagle and Pope Francis. During his pontificate, Pope Francis has pushed for a more decentralized church, spoken out on delicate themes like migration, climate change, and economic transparency, and criticized clericalism. These actions have sparked more reformative measures. He has gone so far as to say that unless we do anything about climate change, the planet would become uninhabitable. But these endeavors have encountered very difficult obstacles. These changes have been strongly resisted by some ultra-conservative factions within the Roman Catholic Church, who see them as totally at odds with what God has revealed in the Bible. An example of this fight for control is Cardinal Tagle's involvement with the Vatican. Even though Tagle shares Pope Francis's goal of a compassionate church that prioritizes the margins, not everyone has welcomed his ascent to prominence. His pragmatic approach to management and focus on open communication stand in stark contrast to more conservative interpretations of Catholic teaching. Expectations have been increased and possible obstacles have been brought to light as a result of this. A major front in this power struggle is the realm of financial monitoring. Pope Francis has sparked controversy by attempting to clean up the Vatican's financial organizations. Tagle backs these reform efforts and pushes for more openness as member of the management team in charge of charity operations. But he has found himself at conflict with powerful interests due to this position. These relationships are already complicated, and succession just makes things worse. Pope Francis has been mum about who will succeed him, but Tagle's rising profile makes him a strong contender to steer the Church in the right way. It is possible that conservatives may try to elect politicians who will fight against Pope Francis's reform agenda. The showdown that will decide the next leader of the Church is highlighted by the power struggle that is happening behind the scenes. Beyond the Vatican, these conflicts impact dioceses all around the globe and shape the way world leaders deal with international issues. Even if there are still traditionalists in the Catholic Church, the present era is defined by the continuous reforms and the ensuing splits between unity and traditional Catholicism. It is still to be determined how these dynamics will affect the Church's capacity to tackle the issues of the modern day. The role of leaders such as Cardinal Tagle is vital throughout these changes as they determine how the Church will respond to a world that is changing at a rapid pace. The path that Cardinal Luis Tagle will take inside the Catholic Church is lengthy. By standing out for the downtrodden, protecting human rights, honoring immigrants, and standing up for the persecuted in his nation, this youthful cardinal has left an indelible mark on Catholicism. Progressive Catholics all throughout the globe look up to Tagle as an inspiration. Nevertheless, he wields this authority while negotiating the institution's long-standing internal and external conflicts. Tagle is amiable and accommodating to people of different backgrounds since he is good at interacting with them. Tagle maintains his humility and interacts with his followers effortlessly, whether he is preaching to a congregation in Manila or representing the Pope. In contrast to the often dominant institutionalist style of leadership in the Church, many have missed his preaching of a shepherd-like leadership style. Tagle positions himself as a trailblazer within the emerging Catholic Church by advocating a dynamic and inclusive faith. In the face of a lot of uncertainty, this legacy is taking shape. A growing number of people in Asia and Africa are devout, in contrast to a shrinking clergy and other church officials in North America and Europe. While this demographic transition does strengthen the Church, it also makes it more difficult to serve a large and diverse audience. Tagle is an excellent leader in this multicultural setting because of his cultural awareness and his non-Western heritage. Another remarkable quality of Tagle's leadership is his knack for combining old and new styles. He has shown a willingness to collaborate with modernity by taking up positions in climate change and interfaith dialogue. His dedication to social justice was on full display during the Paris Climate Conference, where equity and fairness were cherished. The conservative faction of the Church, meanwhile, has accused Francis of abandoning theological concerns, a reflection of the persistent disputes that define this era of Catholic leadership. What will determine Tagle's legacy is how he handles these conflicting demands. The question of leadership is rising to the forefront as events unfold within the Catholic Church. Successive administrations must continue the good work started by Pope Francis. Because of his standing in the Vatican and his devotion to Francis, Tagle will play a pivotal role in determining the fate of the Catholic Church. It is unclear, though, if his vision strikes a chord with the large and sometimes divided Catholic population throughout the world. There has been a lot of talk regarding Cardinal Tagle's expanding and ever-changing influence. Being at the helm of an institution that is both rooted in history and compelled to change in response to an ever-evolving environment presents him with enormous problems. A man will be defined by his capacity to bring people together and inspire optimism. Does his leadership have the potential to bring about a revitalized, welcoming, and healing Catholic Church? Cardinal Pietro Parolin, in contrast to Cardinal Luis Tagle, is one of the prominent candidates being considered as Pope Francis's successor. As a senior official in charge of diplomacy and the Vatican's administration, Parolin performs the duties of the office of Secretary of State. In contrast to Tagle's pastoral and reformist stance, Parolin is well known for his conservative beliefs and vast expertise in diplomacy. He embodies the historic essence of the Catholic Church as an Italian. While serving as Secretary of State, Parolin gained the esteem of traditionalists for his handling of the Church's intricate geopolitical connections and his ability to keep its global influence in the face of modern society's problems. Parolin is considered a genius who is masterful at manipulating the Church's hierarchy, in contrast to Tagle, who is closer to the Church's periphery. His ability to see things from several angles and develop bridges has won him over to people who value subtle rather than radical transformation. His detractors, however, contend that the Church is facing new problems as a result of this world's fast transformation, and that his views don't provide enough solutions. The wider inconsistencies within the contemporary Church are mirrored in this dispute between Tagle and Parolin. While Parolin exemplifies the conventional and diplomatic sensitivities characteristic of the Vatican government, Tagle highlights the postmodern leadership traits of being forward-looking, inclusive, empathetic, and people-centered. Many are beginning to wonder what the best course of action for the Church is going to be in light of these differences. The long-standing practice of Italian clergy dominating the Vatican administration is further highlighted by Parolin's prominent position. Pope Francis's election broke with tradition, but Parolin's run for the position might mark a return to the status quo. One may learn about the difficulties facing the Catholic Church from seeing Cardinal Tagle and Cardinal Parolin compete with one another. How the Church handles an increasingly complicated and divisive world will be defined in large part by the leaders that emerge from this fight. Striking a balance between tradition, the need for reform, and modern involvement, the choice will influence the path of the Catholic Church for the next few decades. In your opinion, how does Cardinal Tagle seem in his new role as Pope? Also, in your opinion, which of the popes has the best chance of becoming Pope? Leave a comment below and tell us what you think. In order to see more videos like this, please subscribe, like, and share. Also, you should probably watch the following video that pops up on your screen.